I'm very excited to have Vibhu, the co-founder of Drip, on. Drip is, of course, the project which is distributing, I think, the most NFTs on Solana and I think across all of crypto. So I'm very excited to hear your unique perspective on NFTs and what you guys are working on. Welcome, Vibhu.
Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you on. So before we get stuck into Drip and a bit about Solana Spaces previously, I'd love to get a bit of background around yourself and how you came to be founding these or co-founding these exciting projects in crypto.
Cool. I mean, I usually talk about my background as an engineer and an entrepreneur, long time software engineer. But for some reason, I feel like talking about the non-work related things in my life that inspired this. I grew up a huge fan of basketball, and I still am. I have season tickets to the Golden State Warriors right down the street from me. And when I was very young, my friends and I like fell in love with basketball cards, and it was really big during the late '90s, and we would get together every single day and trade and like look at each other's stuff. And we used to go to card shows. Our parents would drop us off, and we spent an hour, haggling over like $1, $2 cards and the likes. So I think that's the first thing that kind of I have this kind of collector mentality built into me that I carry into Drip very, very deeply. And I have a huge basketball card collection right behind me. I still collect to this day. And probably RuneScape, I would say. Like the same friends that I traded basketball cards with, we found RuneScape like many other people in the mid aughts and 2000, I don't know, 2003, 2004, 2005. Like everything about that game is wired into my brain deeply and has never left, in terms of the direct grind, to outcome relationship. The idea that like there's randomness in the world, and if you just keep pushing, like maybe you'll get lucky one day. I think those are more the inspiration for crypto. Like my entrepreneurial life had nothing to do with any type of thing that we're doing now. I built stores for a long time. I built hardware products. I built social networks. But more of my childhood had, I think, a bigger impact on what Drip is becoming.
I have the sense that we're probably not too far difference in age, and I have the sense that growing up in the '90s, there was a big culture of collecting cards. Like I don't know how it is these days for kids growing up, but it was Dragon Ball Z cards or Pokemon cards or basketball cards. It was all about like just collecting, and I guess that was a bit pre super digital world. You had these physical cards that you would kind of treasure and sift through and sort through. But you mentioned that professionally you were involved in setting up shops or spaces. So is that how Solana Spaces came about originally?
Yeah, I'm wearing the only logo merch we ever made for Solana Spaces. Yeah, I was building this retail brand for 7 or 8 years, and we were quite popular in the Bay Area. We had 5 stores here, and we built stores all over the world, in Dubai and Tokyo, all over the US. And yeah, we were like a late stage company, 250 people, 20x million plus in recurring revenue. And, COVID just took our legs out overnight. And during that time, I started exploring crypto like many people. I thought Top Shot was fun back in the day, and then kind of led into Ethereum NFTs, and especially generative stuff. I thought that was pretty interesting, and I knew Raj from Solana, and he was asking me to take a look at Solana. Is there something we can do together? And eventually, we kind of had this plan to like build this physical onboarding station for people who wanted to jump into the crypto metaverse. And I don't know, I didn't have honestly I didn't know what to expect. I think we both, many people at Solana probably thought it was a pretty bad idea. I didn't think it was the best idea either, but I also sometimes those are the best ideas in a way. Like you just do something that's a little uncomfortable and weird that no one else is doing, and just see where it takes you.
Yeah, I had my only experience with the spaces was at the last breakpoint where I bought one of the DGen caps, and it was a delight to have that experience, like that in person experience, and seeing, like, we talk so much about crypto being a level up in terms of payments, but to finally get the chance to actually use it in store was a real thrill. And I'm sure there was many struggles. It was always cool to see the spaces in New York and to see the videos from the spaces. So even though in the end, like, you guys didn't continue in that direction, I think it was a really cool. It was cool while it lasted, I guess. It was really cool.
Yeah, it
I'm
was.
a bit bummed I didn't get to try it to be, to visit them more. But so once you guys sort of closed the loop on the Solana spaces, it was because you found traction in a different direction. Can you tell us a bit about the new direction that you took after closing the loop on the Solana spaces?
Yeah, you know, Drip was very emergent. We were just, I was always experimenting with stuff on Twitter, and giving away stuff. And uh, for a long time, I had felt like the NFT scene on Solana wasn't taking advantage of the tech at all. Like they had just, skeuomorphically grabbed the 10K PFP idea from Ethereum and then just like transported over to Solana, even though, um, you know, minting NFTs was much, much cheaper. And, and so, yeah, we started sending out NFTs every week while we were running the stores, and the list kind of grew and grew and grew and grew every single week. It was growing the way that, like, if this was my full time job, it would have been a dream. And more, I felt like, well, wait a second, maybe this can be something that is more meaningful. And I spent 2 months thinking about compression and what that could mean. And for a long time, it was talked about for a long time before it got implemented. But the allure of like collectibles and NFTs at a very, very, at a humanity scale for nothing, um, it just seemed like, if it was true, it was a absolute game changer for crypto entirely. Like it changed my mind about what interacting with a chain could mean. And eventually we realized, okay, I mean, I really believe that NFTs to date are a type of content, and people who create NFTs, whether they're artists or they're PFP founders, are creators, and they've tapped into this interesting medium that where the content and community are kind of together, um, and one and the same. And and I just thought, man, there's something really big that can be designed here. And we got to rip the band-aid, because the stores were, we were in a spot after FTX where we needed a lot of help financially from the Solana Foundation. Drip was on the other hand was like super efficient. Um, and yeah, it was a tough call, a tough month that wasn't clear that it was the right decision either for some time. But uh, you know, close in February, end of February. It's been 3 months now, and in that time, we went from, I don't know, 50 or 60K users to over 300,000 today. Um, and I just feel like we've been growing and growing every single day, not just users, but the feature set, functionality, and the excitement. And I know for sure we made the right call now. I mean, this thing has a chance to change the world. Maybe it's small, maybe it's like 1%, but you don't get to discover those kind of things that often in your life. And when you do, I just think you have to dive into the deep end and see what's there.
Yeah, I have the sense that with regard to the compressed NFTs, you guys had kind of perfect timing, or you really took advantage of it as soon as it came out, and you kind of took it to the extreme to push the limits and see what's possible. Can you speak a little bit about, like, for the listeners who are not familiar with compressed NFTs, just briefly, maybe a bit around the metrics of, like, why it's so much more possible to have those higher levels of distribution?
Yeah. So the reason NFTs are expensive on Solana, the old version, I mean, expensive in a relative sense, I mean, much cheaper than other chains, but is that, if you were doing an airdrop, you not only are minting the NFT to its own account and paying the chain for that rent, you're also paying the transfer fee to the user. And, I mean, they're small. I mean, like, I think at the current price of Solana, it's maybe like no more than like 10 or 20 cents. But when you're 100,000 wallets or 300,000 wallets, okay, that starts to add up. It starts to become like tens of thousands of dollars, which is what we were incurring at the very end before we switched to compression. And yeah, compressed state is just a genius idea, which was, hey, instead of dropping NFT, paying the account rent for every single instance of this thing, why don't you mint a tree? And inside of that tree, you have a structure into that contains many nodes that have the ownership and the metadata kind of inside of those nodes, and I don't know anything about how the cryptographics work, but it's like a very sound proven kind of there's a proven like math and system behind how all the whole thing is constructed and how users can kind of update and own these things. And I think you could argue that this is like probably how, like, if someone had this idea like 5-6 years ago, that all NFTs would be using this kind of structure. And to be honest with you, I think if that were true, we wouldn't have the kind of NFT scene that we have today, because
Mm.
like that scene was built around the constraints that the costs kind of enforced. And this structure is just a better way to think about storing, I think, any asset against a user. It just mirrors a little bit better like how businesses and developers and founders like think about creating projects. So I'm a super mega bull on compression. This week alone, we are sending out 900,000 NFTs.
That's wild.
And I mean, it
900,000.
sounds crazy, but it really is, compared to the old version of this. It's really, it really breaks the model entirely. We're just in a different stratosphere. But if you compare this now to the rest of the internet, it starts to make sense. It starts to be like a more typical cost structure and storage structure, and that Google, Facebook, Instagram, etc. have. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
And just out of curiosity, when you're now distributing, say, 900,000 NFTs, just to drive home the difference in cost. So you said that you were running up, tens of thousands of dollars to distribute when you were much smaller. What's the cost looking at these days?
Per million NFTs, I want to say that we're spending around 150 US dollars,
That's
and
insane.
it can be more efficient. The interesting thing is that the trade-offs change depending on how efficient you want to build your trees. Like, you can make these things really efficient if you're going to a billion scale, but the problems start to accrue when you try to do complex on-chain operations around those things. So there's still some work to be done, but I mean, $150 for a million NFTs is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket for that kind of scale.
Yeah, that's really cool. So then we can see that there's some new technology which has sort of enabled you guys to really lift off. And what's the idea with Drip House? Like, where are you guys at currently? And then where do you see NFT, or, like, I think you call them collectibles as well, right? Where do you see, like, crypto collectibles kind of going moving forward?
So the big idea behind Drip is, what if we reinvented the way that creators create content and the way that the audience kind of takes in that content. And the Web 2 model for this is, creator pushes a publish button, a post button on Instagram, publish button on Facebook or Twitter, and they send it out. It gets stored in a database, and then the audience like scrolls through and kind of consumes it on a read-only basis. And this is a very platform leveraged model, because the platform gets to sit there and collect data on what people are interested, what their content they're consuming. The user gets no economic value out of it at all, which is okay. There's lots of things that are like that. But meanwhile, they're building profiles and they're serving ads against it. And the creators, on the other hand, although there's this great idea that maybe the creators can make money from this, in reality, they have no choice, because if they don't post to Instagram, if you're like a photographer or a model or a brand, then if you don't post there, then you don't get to build an audience, because that's where all the people are. Frankly, the platforms just have tremendous leverage. They don't have to pay you anything for that, and they don't. Not until you're at the very top of the stratosphere. Everyone has to go and build a business that's adjacent to these things. And so I think our proposal is, hey, let's stop feeding the data engines that are entrapping all of us in this system that, to be honest, is has a lot of flaws, and let creators own the content that they're producing, and let the people that appreciate that content kind of co-own it together with them. And wrapping that content inside of an NFT as the kind of delivery mechanism allows the creator to value that audience that's receiving it, and allows the audience to have just the smallest sliver of that creator's world. And what's interesting is that this idea is, we know this is a good idea because in every other thing on the internet where there was intermediation by platforms, we've seen direct to consumer models arrive, where the brand or whatever is no longer going through Amazon, but they're going to meet through their own infrastructure to serve the customer. And we think this is a better experience. And actually, like, the NFT format allows the creator to do that for the very first time on the internet. Like, that is not a thing that happens today, direct from a content creator to you. And so the question is, like, for us, can we convince creators to think about their content differently and to wrap it inside NFTs? Will there be, like, thinking back to the basketball cards, if you have like a massive scale and distribution for these things, like, does a market emerge for this content? Does it become like more than just collectible? Does it become, financialized? But what we know for sure is that creators need to make money, and we're going to keep chasing, kind of pulling on that thread to see where it lands us. And this is across categories like photography, videos, podcasts, music, and so on.
So are you mostly coming at this from the angle of like user generated or, single artists, or do you also see potential for, say, I'm not going to name a specific company, but just like larger companies that maybe advertise on Instagram, maybe they can also do, I don't know, deals with different artists and doing collections. Like, do you see also scope for larger companies, or do you see it more as like a single artist angle?
No, we not only do I see that, we just launched with Vault Music, which is a company and brand, and they're now sending out these like free music every week. What we're launching tomorrow, I don't know when this gets published. When does this get published?
Next week.
Okay, so yeah, by the time this comes out, we'll have announced our next Drip channel, which is going to be Floor, which is an NFT wallet that just debuted on Solana, and they've got an interesting kind of idea for what kind of collectibles they would create. I definitely, I think what is revolutionary, as in addition to some of the monetization stuff that we're working through, the NFT as a wrapper gives your content programmability and instant utility if you want to build that. And so we've thought a lot about this idea, like that a brand, who sends out a deal on Instagram, a 15% off today for Mother's Day, whatever it is, right? The way that currently works is that you post the 15% off ad, and then you have a link, and then there's some kind of attribution flow, and you have to go plug that code in over here, and then the platforms like want to eat part of that because, well, they did the business for you, so they have all kinds of like pixel tracking that they're enforcing. They don't want to show your content to people as well because it's an ad. So there's like these, like, that experience is actually broken. We just are so used to it, we don't even realize. You only realize when you're in my shoes and you're trying to build a retail brand. Then you're like, wait a second, this whole thing is like just like off, right? With NFTs, the content can be the coupon. It can be the thing that you're trying to get someone to do as well, because the user's wallet has can be shared across many different places. So I definitely see a future where that 15% ad comes, and I go to their site and I sign in with that same wallet, or maybe I'm already signed in, and when I check out, it just already knows, oh yeah, you're like following us on Drip, and we see that you have this piece, and we're going to take that discount for you. So these are like really interesting properties that, like, the more I think about the stuff, the more excited I get about how big this can be.
Completely. And not only can you apply that 15% coupon in a very sort of in a reliable way that can't be as easily abused either, right? Like, it's not like a code that can be shared amongst many people and then reused. But not only can you do that, but when I buy my Solana Saga and using a code that I got on Drip, Solana can then give me some Solana points in that same transaction. I can earn an NFT in that same transaction. I can earn a reward. Maybe I've bought 4 times in the last 4 weeks, and I'm sort of getting a multiplier on my purchases. The scope for gamifying and making e-commerce much more interesting and efficient is huge, and it's unfortunate that for whatever reason it hasn't been explored to a very large degree up until now. But I'm excited to hear that, like, this is exactly kind of what the level that you're on currently, which is really exciting. Another area, we're speaking about e-commerce, but another thing that I thought when I was looking at Drip was, if the listeners are familiar with like Fortnite or Apex Legends or Call of Duty, you'll be familiar with like battle passes where you pay a certain amount per, I don't know, quarter, and then you unlock a lot of collectibles. Is that something that you're also kind of cognizant of when you guys are working on new sort of drops for Drip?
Yeah, the initial plan for monetization for us was literally called a battle pass. We were going to have a battle pass and different kind of milestones, and we've since kind of scrapped that a bit. But from a creator's perspective, there'll be a relationship between them and their audience where you can sign up for free and receive what those creators are sending out, or you'll have an opportunity to donate or subscribe, which you can already do with Degen Poet today. It's going to get much better very soon, and this can function as kind of like a battle pass with a bit more flexibility, and the creator will kind of outline, here's the other things that you're going to get by subscribing, right? I'm going to drop you extra NFTs every week, or behind the scenes content, or other special items. And we have some, I probably can't talk about, we have some things coming as well that creators will be able to drop that have kind of like global utility within Drip in different ways. I would say in general, a lot of inspiration for the future Drip experience comes from mobile gaming, and for sure Fortnite and these kinds of experiences. Like the incentive model that games have built, like the best in-class games have built, are the best in the world. And I think I know that they have rejected crypto so far, but the reality is that, like, they're very closely related, and like the way the community behaves, the way they think about assets. I think about like CS:GO skins and what that has meant. The fact that like people care about the rarity of these and they recognize like when you see that Fortnite Skelly skin or whatever it's called, you're like, oh, you were there in the early days. And then the virtual economy they've built, like they have virtual tokens that you buy that have value, and people buy and sell those on like black markets, and so like they are close already, and we're just gonna go steal a bunch of the best ideas from our favorite games and incorporate them into the Drip experience.
And I feel like there's an element there is that so many of the founders in crypto grew up playing a lot of games, and so they're very inspired originally as teenagers from what we were playing back then. And before CS:GO, it was Counter Strike Source and CS 1.6, and I think probably most of the founders have played Counter Strike at some point.
It's not just crypto; it's a demographic thing because
True.
Anyone like post the internet age, our entertainment shifted from television and movies to games, and like if you look at the percentage of people that play games today, what it actually is telling you is that young people see games as their primary source of entertainment, and older people don't. And as those people die off, you'll see 100% of the demographic are thinking about games as how they want to spend their free time. So it's that's yes, it is in common with crypto, but it's because crypto is young, and then every young person
True.
Grows up that way.
True. A couple of questions on how you see Drip. So the first question I have is, do you see your like Drip being the distributor and like organizing the content? Because right now you have multiple collections, but I'm wondering, do you see in the future being more of a provider that just enables other people to do their own kind of collections and like almost like a white label service, or do you see it yourselves as the, I don't know what the term is, but like the procurer and distributor,
the aggregator,
the aggregator, yeah.
I don't know if we know 100%. I would say I think we have a strong belief that that aggregation is a very, very useful thing for creators in a lot of ways, but we can't prevent unbundling because the underlying assets are on chain, and any creator can go and build their own thing. I think the core place where we offer a lot of help will be, discovery. So matchmaking between your interests and what content is on the platform. I think monetization. Like there's a lot of things that creators just shouldn't have to keep building themselves. And then, I think there's a layer of, it's not easy to, we've been chewing glass, to like be able to send out this many NFTs with this speed, this precision, kind of management of like subscribers and what they're supposed to be getting. I think there's just tooling there where, it makes sense for us to build it. And therefore, the user experience also benefits from being aggregated. Like there's consistency between these things. So yeah, I'm kind of more on the aggregation train right now. There are white label Drip products coming, not from us, but I know of multiple teams are doing like Drip as a service type of stuff. So if you're a creator, you will have that opportunity. But yeah, I see our experience as being a little bit more curated, a little bit more, together in a sense.
Got you. Zooming out a bit further to the whole Solana space, is there anything that you'd like to shout out as something that's kind of got you excited or pumped up or interested?
You mean like other projects? Like
yeah, like or new technical like the compressed NFTs, but there's for example Fire Dancer from the Jump team or Token 2022, like these kinds of new innovations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously watching that stuff. But I spend most of my time thinking about NFTs.
Got you.
I'm very uh, there's some really good teams building in our same kind of primitive. Um, yeah, token. Yeah, I'm not a token guy. I'm not a DeFi guy. I don't. I barely understand that stuff. To be honest
Got
with
you.
you.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's probably better that way. You can really zero in on the NFT side and the collectible side. So then, I'd like to, speaking about crypto collectibles, I'd like to get your sort of prediction on, when you sense that we'll hit that mainstream adoption, and like what do you anticipate to be the product or the experience that like crosses the chasm to the mainstream society?
Other than ours, I mean, I think that's what we're
Yeah.
that's what we're building, right? I mean, um, I think we have the. I think we. It's not just I think. Objectively speaking, we have the best chance to do this.
Hmm.
Um, we're already at a breakthrough size. We're expanding every day, and the it's just a matter of timing to me. We right now we still want to be very engrossed with the crypto creators, um, because they are, people like Degen Poet are carving the path and the meta for the next generation, and you really want the experience to feel organic. You don't want to we don't want to just like have 100,000 Instagram creators showing up and just like posting their
Mm,
photos. We want them to take advantage of the format that's being offered to do something different, but they're not going to know how to do that unless they come on board and see other examples of it being done. And if you've been in NFTs for 2 years, 3 years, then like I think those mental models are already there for you, and you're building that just organically. Um, so yeah, it's just a choice. Um, I think we'll be ready in no more than 6 months to turn on a fire hose, and we have uh, uh, a very very big idea on how exactly we're going to do this. And I don't know. My team and I've been talking about it for a while. We just can't find any fault with it. I mean, it could be wrong, but uh, I think crypto, not only do we have like really interesting model for NFTs, I also think crypto companies and protocols have built very interesting strategies for growing that don't exist in the normal business world. Um, and it's because like everything in crypto moves like really fast. So like the competitiveness and like the cycles of innovation just like are rolling like at hyper speed, and so we're gonna borrow from some playbooks that have already worked in Web3, and then apply those rigorously and very fast against Web2 to try to bring users and creators over. I think that gives us a good framework for like what we're thinking about. But and these things, like if we were right, the migration will happen uh, in like months, not in years, not in 5 or 10 years. It will happen in like 3 to 6 months. Um, that's the moment where kind of everything we're doing this year is like working towards this floodgate that we want to open. And it will, like when that moment happens, it will change Solana forever overnight. Like the second that Kim Kardashian drops a drip channel, um, Solana will never be the same. Okay, people are going to hate it, but it's going to bring 50, 100 million, 200 million people to our industry. So that's where we need to get to.
that was incredibly exciting. I'm very pumped to discover what opening the floodgates looks like. Yeah, super, super bullish to hear that. So before we finish up, I know we're hitting time here. For the crypto newbies who have been a bit confused during this conversation, they're still learning. Like, what were some of your favorite resources, or your favorite resource in crypto that you came across when you were getting stuck into it? Apart from Twitter, some people just say Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter was a huge part of it. Yeah, I mean, the advice I got was like just to jump into discords, and You know, you have to put yourself out there a little bit. You have to be unafraid to interact. Like people will help. Like when we have new people come into our Discord, you know, people will jump on to tell them the way. But you just have to be willing to ask questions. You know, you got to put your money where your mouth is too. You got to spend a little bit. You got to buy some NFTs. You got to buy some rugs. Like, you know, if you want to accelerate your learning curve, you can't be sitting on the sidelines. Um, and you know, I don't know. I didn't understand most of what was going on for a long time. I was just kind of like participating there, and that's the best thing to do for sure. Um, Set up an anonymous Twitter account. Throw up a PFP up there that you like. Doesn't have to be expensive, just something you like, and you know, start engaging with brands like us, and we'll give the love back. You know, and kind of go from there. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, and you'll find that every different NFT community has a different vibe, and you'll find one that you slot right into. So, look, Vibhu, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm super jacked up to see what Drip is doing in the next few months, and I'm really excited to just hear this different take on how NFTs should be thought of as collectibles, and I guess the much larger scope that you're thinking about it in is really exciting. So best of luck to you and the team, and looking forward to seeing what you guys can do. One last thing, where can people follow Drip and get Drip?
You already know. But yeah, you can find our site at drip.house, drip.haus. And of course, our Twitter is the alpha magnets at drip_house.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thanks so much, Vibu. All the best.
Thank you.